Hey friends, let's talk about fasting and ketones and medical emergencies. Oh my. Actually, I was just cleaning off my desk this afternoon and I came across a little index card that I had made some notes on and my journal here. Journal is always close by. And I thought, there's some information here that is probably worth sharing. So I thought I'd just sit down and make a quick video. Last week was the first full week in January. And I was excited to start the new year, of course, new goals. And I started a 72-hour fast last Monday. And why would anyone go 72 hours without food? Well, if you're familiar with fasting, you know that it is wonderful for your health. It's great for your brain. It's good for your gut. It rebuilds stem cells. It reduces inflammation. It's wonderful for emotional health. There's just a variety of reasons. And it certainly is not something that you go into if you've never fasted before. And fasting has been a part of my life and my lifestyle for a number of years. I have done 72-hour fasts in the past and was ready to do another. I always do one the first part of January. And I was really looking forward to some stem cell regrowth because I've been having some pain and inflammation issues with a neck and a knee injury that I hoped it would help with. So started the fast on Monday morning, had a light, healthy breakfast, did very well on Monday, a little bit hungry by evening, of course. The following day, Tuesday, at the 24-hour mark, still doing fine, a little bit hungry, but ultra focused and a little chilly, a little bit hungry, but still doing fine. Throughout the fast, I drank plenty of water, consumed my electrolytes, had lots of herbal tea, so definitely staying hydrated. Went to bed Tuesday evening, got up Wednesday, and about mid-morning on Wednesday, we took a walk, and I was sore. My hips were sore, and my legs were sore, and I just felt heavy. And I kind of figured, well, I haven't had nourishment for a couple days, but I still need to move my body. Was still staying hydrated. And by late afternoon on Wednesday, my headache started getting worse. And I checked my numbers. If you're a faster, if you're considering fasting, of course, you always want to make sure that you're checking your blood sugar levels and your ketone levels. And I thank God that I have this little device. This is a Keto Mojo. So I was checking my blood sugar and my ketones 3 to 4 times a day. Late Wednesday afternoon, they were fine. Before bedtime on Wednesday, headache is still hanging in there. My blood sugar levels, they were around, 70s, I suppose. Looking at my note here. Yeah, they were in the 70s and 78. And my ketones were at about 7. So I was in prime ketosis. My body was burning fat. And other than the headache, I felt all right, a little achy. Went to bed. Did not sleep well. At about 1 o'clock, that headache that I went to bed with was on the verge of becoming a migraine. And I got up and went out and laid on the couch thinking maybe a change in temperature or change in position would help, and still didn't sleep well. And now looking back on that, I can say that's my first big mistake in this whole experience, was that when I got up and headed out to the couch, I should have stopped, grabbed my meter, checked my blood sugar and my ketone levels. By 6 o'clock on Thursday morning, I was done. I knew I wasn't going to fall back to sleep. My head was pounding and I was dealing with a full-blown migraine to the point that I was seeing like little strobes, any bit of light coming through the curtains or light from another room coming in just was torture. And very cold, chilled, felt like I was catching the flu. and had some water, grabbed my meter and checked my numbers. My blood sugar was down to 67, but my ketones were way up to 9. And my little meter, which has Bluetooth connectivity to an app on my phone, was in the red, and it said, danger, and ketones of 9 up, that you're in the danger zone. And kind of thought about how I was feeling and looking at the numbers on the screen and realized I'm dealing with ketoacidosis, which can be very dangerous. Your organs can shut down, and a number of really bad things can happen. And I knew that I needed to get some calories in me. So the fast was over. I was at 70 hours, done. Should have broken it at 1 a.m. and I didn't, but here I am now. Let's get some nourishment and some calories in this body. But the thought of consuming anything other than a few sips of cold water was just overwhelmingly nauseating. But I warmed up some bone broth, following, the whole fasting protocol. Warmed up some bone broth and sipped on that, and then went and laid down. I was not in good shape, and laid in bed with my iPhone and doing some reading and research as much as I could online, and realizing more and more that this is not good, and that I could end up in the emergency room if I didn't get things figured out quickly. So about 2 hours after the bone broth, I knew I needed to get some probiotics in me if I could. The thought of eating anything again was just, the physical act of putting a bite of food in my mouth just made me want to retch. I knew there was not going to be any sauerkraut going in. So I had a glass of kombucha, grabbed a bottle out of the fridge and just sipped on a glass of kombucha just to get a little bit of sugars and some probiotic going, and went in and laid down again, and probably slept hard for about 2 hours with, I think, every blanket in the house over me and the heat turned up, and woke up to an and made a fast dash to the bathroom, and everything that I had drank since I got up had come up. Like, okay, so if I can't hold liquids down, how am I going to hold any sort of nourishment down? And checked my numbers again, grabbed my Keto Mojo. Ketone levels were still way high. So made a cup of tea, put some honey in that, thinking, okay, let's not even worry about how you're supposed to properly break a fast, and just get some calories going. And thank goodness, my sweetheart had some glucose tablets that he carries when we hike. And I had him bring me one of those, and I nibbled on it and was able to hold that down, and sipped on the tea, sipped cold water, sipped on a glass of water with some electrolytes mixed up in it, and checked my numbers. A couple hours later, they started to come down. My ketones then were down to about 7.5, but my blood sugar was up to 167. I'm like, okay, this is not a good balance of numbers at all. So I'm still in ketoacidosis. I still feel like death. The migraine is hanging in there. I didn't want to take anything for the headache simply because my stomach was empty, and things like Tylenol and Advil are so hard on your organs anyway, and they were already stressed. I'm like, I can push through this. And tried a few bites of rice, tried a bite of a banana, and mid-afternoon, another mad dash to the bathroom. None of that stayed down. So the nausea and the migraine and the weakness and the chills and just the pain in my hips and my legs reached a point where I knew that if by 4:30 things were not improving, I still couldn't hold anything down, and my numbers were still sky high, I was going to be heading up to the ER and would end up with an IV in my arm and have some glucose pumped into me. Didn't want to have to do that, and just continue to really rest and monitor things. Should I have gone to the hospital? Probably. But I was not home alone. I was keeping a very close eye on numbers, and things then did begin to improve. I had a bit of applesauce, continued to sip water and herbal tea as much as I could, rested a lot, slept a whole lot, and by 4 o'clock, then numbers starting to come down. Blood sugar still staying way too high, but those ketones were coming down. And before bedtime, check those numbers again, because I certainly was not going to go to bed if I felt I was still in ketoacidosis, but my ketones were down to 5. Was feeling better, the headache was starting to come down, and didn't feel like I was knocking on death's door at that point. So I share all that simply to say, listen to your body and listen to that little voice in the back of your head, because they always tell the truth. And I did not listen to the voice in my head that was speaking to me at 1 o'clock in the morning when I went out and laid on the couch that said, you know what, you should test your blood and see where you're at and possibly break this fast. And yeah, that was that was not good. I could have really been in trouble. Again, you ketoacidosis, your organs can shut down. It can be fatal. And if you're going to do a fast, ease into it slowly. Get familiar with intermittent fasting. Do some 24 to 36 hour fasts. You don't sign up for a marathon if you've never exercised before, and you don't step into something like this if you've never fasted before. Just be prepared. Have all the tools that you need. Have the foods that you need. Make sure you've got your electrolytes. Make sure that you're keeping notes, and make sure you're listening to the little voice in the back of your head and listening to your body so you don't get yourself into trouble. So it's been about 5 days now since all that happened. I will say my tummy was very sore for a couple days afterward. I was still not eating very much. Drinking a lot of bone broth, eating light, and just easing my body back into consuming food again, because my stomach, I think, forgot what it was supposed to do, and it was rejecting everything. So again, about 5 days out, feeling good and back on track, and probably won't be doing another long fast for a very long time. Again, looking back at what I could have done differently, the last year with a few of the health struggles that I've had, I'm not in great shape. I haven't been doing the heavy hiking or the hard workouts and the difficult hikes. So I'm not as strong as I was when I did the fast last year. And yeah, my body told me so. So anyway, just sharing that information. Hopefully it helps somebody. Take care.